Greetings friends and welcome back to That Garden Place. Today we are going to focus in on putting down some cover crop, things that'll make and fix nitrogen under your soil. It's a wonderful way to start out if you have a piece of land that needs some recovery. And today we're using White Dutch Clover. And you'll see that, I'll show you. It's a seeding process and you can use this for a yard. You can use this for basically your garden rows if you need some recovery there. It's a wonderful thing to cycle through and create a green mulch in the future. So let's get started. Here we go. Now, because we're using a cover crop, we really only need to focus in on rows and it'll eventually spread. And what we've done here is we've installed a couple of stakes that are set 32 inches apart. That's 16 inches and then again 16 inches from here to here. And then we'll do the same thing at the other end, which I'm filming now. One of the reasons that any of this is important is because you want your rows to be somewhat straight and look nice. They don't have to be nice. You can do this and just broadcast it across the whole surface area. A lot of people do that. But I'm aiming to do this for several specific reasons. Again, I'm going to reintroduce a lot of nitrogen into this soil layer, building the soil up more. And at the same time, I'm also going to be focusing on the spaces for where eventually a greenhouse will be. We're going to actually dig down and provide a greenhouse right against this wall for almost the entire length. So it'll help break up the ground. It'll help break up that hard pack that you've got or you've built up over years. It's easy stuff. So I'm just going to measure over the 16 inches that I need and then again and get to 32 inches from the edge of the stake that I already put in place and mark a spot. I'm fairly certain that's in line, so I'm just going to hammer this hardwood stake into the ground. And as you can hear, the soil is incredibly hard right now. So we now marked our rows. Let's go grab our cultivator and till it up. Now you can use a shovel to do all this work, or you can get yourself a cultivator or rent a rototiller, whatever you want to call this device, and basically dig out your channel. We're only going to go about an inch or two into the soil. We don't want to disturb too much. We're already at a point where this is all solarized dirt, so there isn't really a lot of seed pack or anything else in there. It's just now a hard packed soil that I've intentionally allowed to go as fallow as you can so I could do this project. So let's go. Oh, and another note is that you can actually dig this all out by hand. You can use a string line. I'm just going to eyeball it. It doesn't have to be precise. My goal is to make it so the clover is expected to transfer itself across gaps and basically occupy all the ground space as a true ground cover. Now that we've disturbed the soil, and we've only really gone about a ½ an inch into it, what we're going to do next is we're going to put some topper on and then we're going to seed. Now, a lot of people would just throw their seed down already, and if you have done that, you're fine, but you then throw your topper on. Regardless, the purpose of the topper isn't just for the nutrition or the soil structure, it's also to keep birds away from your seeds. Now, what you choose to top with is, well, not as important as you would think. If you can get something like Omni, which is one of the less expensive toppers out there, it says specifically seed cover and planting compost. This is not too bad per cubic yard. It works for everything from cover crops and flowers to, well, even potting around the house. Of course, you also have Kellogg, which is another topper. It's designed specifically for lawns, sod, and seed. And both of these are good choices. So let's get started on that. Now let's mix in some of our topper with our ground soil. Now you can be real careful about it like I am right now, or you can just tip the bag over and move it around with your shovel. It's up to you. I'm trying to limit my use because I've only got 4 bags today for this entire row, and I want to get it all seeded today. And then I want to cover it. This all used to be a beautiful tiff lawn before it was solarized. Once it was solarized, it became hard pack. There's still useful material underneath it, so why not bring all that back to life with some clover? And then, well, we'll use the soil once we remove it, because we're going to be moving all this soil out of here down about 3 feet, and we're going to put in our next greenhouse. But until that point, when we get to the dead of summer, this is just going to be a wonderful ground cover building soil structure, fixing nitrogen and healing the soil. As an alternate, and I'll show you this in a future video, you can skip the tilling, just put an appropriate layer of cardboard in place, soak the cardboard, and then cover it over with topsoil and do your planting directly there. You can even do that with veg. You can see the remnants of a sprinkler system that's here. That'll all be coming out here in the next few months. And I'm sure some of you are going to say, hey CC, why are you doing all of this when you're only going to tear it up? Because I want healthy, wonderful soil for the next greenhouse and all the elevated raised beds that I'm going to put in it. I want living soil that has worms in it, that has all the lovely little happy, healthy bugs. I want all of that to be in place. This is one of the ways to do that. I'm saving myself a lot of work later by doing a little work now. Tilling isn't always the best plan. It's not always the best thing for your soil. A lot of gardeners do no-till gardening. I'm 100% with that, and I understand why. But when you have a purpose for doing it, it's a normal, okay practice, I would say. When we revisit this video in a couple of weeks, we can take a look at what the effects of it were. One rule you should always follow is you never want anything wider than as far as you can reach from your waist. In other words, if you have shorter arms, you don't want to have a 36-inch wide bed. If you want to keep things in rows especially, it's a good idea to do about 32 inches at most. If you have shorter arms, maybe 28. You just kind of want to plant, and we'll talk about this in a future raised bed video, as if you're planting within hexagons that are interlocked. It increases crop density and intensity of growth. Now take an ordinary rake, a leaf rake, and mix your soil in together. The goal here is just spread the old soil in with the new soil. That way when we seed, this might be enough, may not have to till this at all. This be enough seed, and you're gonna water this fairly aggressively while you have germination happening. In a future short video, I'm gonna show you how to germinate the seeds faster using hydrogen peroxide, believe it or not. Not an advertised use for hydrogen peroxide, but something that's been happening in farming communities, especially around Pennsylvania, Ohio, Tennessee, Indiana, Missouri, basically Amish country. Notice how I'm not being too careful about being fully straight lines. This doesn't really seem to matter to me, because this is a cover crop. It's going to cover hopefully the whole yard by the time we're done. And as it does, It fixes that nitrogen that we talked about into the soil in a big way. If you have any suggestions on how you approach this kind of a project, let me know those in the comment section below. Certainly appreciate everybody's perspective when it comes to these kinds of things, especially if you are an urban farmer. One last note, your results will always vary. Keep that in mind. Planting zones and regions do play a part in how we go about treating our soil, amending it, feeding it, because in the different zones, you're always going to have different soil chemistry and structure. No one size fits all. All right, now let's plant some seeds. So this is White Dutch Clover. This bag here, about a half a pound, will cover about 1,000 square foot under normal planting conditions. I'm gonna ask it to do a little more than that. If you're using a whirlybird spreader instead of the old throw the hand method, you're gonna want to mix this with sand, fine grained sand, in the mixer itself. That way when your whirlybird goes out to broadcast it, or broadcast spreader is what they're called, you can get a pretty even layer of clover to sand, and it'll just take off better. So just something to keep in mind. See all the little seeds? Almost looks like grains of sand itself. And again, it's why we're going to apply topper on top of this so our birds don't think that this is something fun to eat. And again, I'm going to show you some speed germination techniques in the future using hydrogen peroxide. So I think that'll be enjoyable as well. We're already attracting things that like soil. Got some black soldier flies looking for something to put their larvae into that are floating around here because of the decomposed material that still smells good. By the way, that's how you tell if soil is still alive and in good shape, is by the smell. If you can smell the fungi, whatever you want to call it, if you can smell that, you're going to be in really good shape with that soil. Mushroom compost is a great way to add the good little mycelia to your soil, but that earthy forest after a rain smell, that means you got good soil. You're in good shape. You can already hear the birds yelling at me. I want at some of this stuff. Doesn't cost much to get this particular seed. I'll leave a link in the description below eventually. Maybe there's an affiliate thing tied to that in the future. For now, I don't know. Not really sure how to go about monetizing that in the future, but sure we'll figure it out. Oh, I got some piles a little high over here, but that's okay. Again, our goal is to get this all broadcast out here and hope that it takes over the course of the next few weeks. As you can see, I'm not being dainty about it at all. It is very aggressive seeding. So probably using more seed than is necessary. Again, if you're using a controlled broadcast spreader, something designed for lawns, you would be very successful with this. The handheld whirlybirds work great as well, but I do things the old-fashioned way a lot. And now we top up. I'm gonna use the Omni this time. This goes for about $4 or $5 per 1.5 cubic feet of material. And as soon as we're done with the cover, we will immediately water it all in. White clover is good for spreading between corn rows and similar row crops for a lot of reasons. One, as I mentioned before, it's all about nitrogen fixation, but it also breaks up the soil and keeps it alive, allowing more rain penetration. So once your row crop is established, you can throw down your cover crop, broadcast your cover crop, like white Dutch clover, in betwixt the rows, even right up next to them, once your corn is about 4 leaves in development. Your 4 real true leaves tall. Not only that, it's going to shade your cover crop for the rest of the year. And your cover crop will thrive. Then when the cover crop dries up and dies in the cold, you'll have a nice mat that keeps your soil intact when you have rains that normally would degrade the quality of your soil, rinse away valuable topsoil and the nutrition that you've built up. And for those of you who are finding yourselves here for the first time, please hit that subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. Now we got another bag of Omni. Again, $4 or $5 at your big box store for your topper. And you thwart the efforts of the birds, because the birds want to take your seeds. Fortunately, unlike millet, sunflower, and other kinds of seeds, these might be a little less desirable for the birds, which is a good thing. Notice how we're also moving the seed around when we do this. Another reason why I'm not so dainty or particular about the seeds. If you have pinwheels or something like that in your yard, that it's a little flashy once in a while, in the wind, you can keep birds out of your trouble. It's the same way to keep them out of your trees. Some kind of dangly, shiny metal. I've seen gardeners using that trick for a long time. Me, I like the birds. Now, you do not want to step on your soil if you can avoid it at all costs. Unfortunately, I can't avoid it right now, but if you're bare soil gardening, especially for vegetables and such, 100% you don't want to step on your soil ever again. Once you make your raised beds and you built up your hugelkultur mounds, whatever, the less foot traffic, the better. Don't want to contaminate your soil. That's a bad thing. Looks like one more bag and we will be good. Now, one of these seeds can do basically 1 square inch of ground. And you're probably thinking, well, you put an awful lot down there, CC. And I'm going to tell you why. I don't mind the density, and I don't mind that it's going to choke it out. But the more of this clover, the denser I can get it right from the start, the better. And this is just one of several rows that I'm growing again for a purpose. Almost like I'm gonna harvest it. But right now I'm taking full advantage of a moderate and warmish spring and what this particular white clover can do for soil structure and for nutrient density. And then in the next row, which I'll shoot a quick video of in the future, I'm going to show you the cardboard method as I mentioned before. Now, let's water it in. Now you got to be diligent about weeding this area for the first couple of weeks. Once this cover crop is established though, you don't have to worry about weeds anymore. They'd be choked out. I'll probably water this again at least 2 more times today, one time later in the afternoon when we get a little bit of the sun going down action. And then tonight, I'll just make sure it's still moist. Very excited for this. Can't wait to show you what it looks like in a couple of weeks. And so here we are. After 1 week, we've got clover coming up throughout this entire area. And I would say it looks like we have success. This is going to continue to spread out across the entire yard. We're going to do a couple more rows of it this week. As you can see, many people would argue, but you can plant this and cover it, or you can plant it and not cover it. Both ways will work. And these seeds are strong enough to push through a very thin layer of cover so you're not fighting with the birds. And just because I thought we might be a little thin, I even applied more seed after a couple of days of growth. And there you have it. We have planted our white clover. It's starting to come up all over, and we're looking forward to it covering the entire former yard. Again, this crop's not going to be here forever. It won't even be here for 6 months, but what it will be is a way to get nitrogen into some soil and start to rebuild soil structure, because we're going to dig up the majority of that soil to make way for a greenhouse. And then we're going to take the soil that we collected and we're going to put that into some raised elevated beds that will allow us to garden inside the greenhouse in a very aggressive way. I want to say thank you for all your comments in the previous videos, and if you have anything to add today or any questions, absolutely let me know in the comments section down below. I will try to remember to include the links to the seeds and anything else that's relevant, including maybe the cultivator you might be interested in getting for yourself. Although I believe most of the places it's been discontinued. But, you know, it is kind of a fun tool to have, and there are many other versions from many other companies. And with that, thanks for being here on That Garden Place. We'll see you next time.